My name is Hans van Grieken. I'm a Vice President for Business Innovation at Capgemini, and I'm also an adjunct professor to a number of universities in the Netherlands. My speciality is innovation, and particularly innovation that is based on the principle that most probably somebody already solved your problem somewhere in the world, so how do you find it, copy, bypass, in some cases steal it? Well, supply chains in a number of companies are a crucial part of their go-to-market strategy. So, for instance, if you take a company like Samsung, they use very elaborate tools for innovation. I mean, just imagine what it means that 3-4 months after the introduction of iPad 2, they launch a Galaxy in 3 versions, which from a technical point of view is better. Well, that has to do with the innovation process, for which they use a methodology called TRIZ. But it also has to do with the way they have organized their supply chain, for which they have created a control tower. The company I work for is involved in a number of initiatives with big customers to create what we call green supply chains. They're all based on principles for cradle, which in the end gears at reusing whatever comes out of a production process in other worlds than the world it was intended for. We have done a number of these trials, and what we see is that big companies across the world are geared at becoming greener, not just because of the ethics of it, but also because they understand that there's a consumer audience out there which is very favorable of this approach. I mean, in the future it will be very easy to take your mobile phone and read the barcode. We actually produced a paper on this recently with GS1. You read the barcode of the product and it tells you where it comes from, how it was produced, and obviously what is the footprint it took to harvest it, to package it, and to transport it. Now, big companies in this world are driving this. A company like Walmart is very big on this, and they've actually decided that in a few years, next to the pricing of the product, there will be an indicator for the carbon footprint. The shortage of production capacity that we will have forces us not to use too much of the land, etc. But also, I mean, if there was a research paper, I think a few years ago in the UK, of how much food we actually throw away in the Western world, it's something to be ashamed of. Yeah. So it goes both ways. You know, it's not just the transport is a relatively small part of the pricing and a small part of the carbon footprint, most of them, but it's a very visible one. Well, that's very difficult. So we're doing some trials, for instance, for Mars in my country, and the first results of that are quite positive. As you've heard in today's conference, the gentleman from Maersk giving the example that he invested heavily in, let's say, making his supply chain more sustainable, assuming that the others would follow. The others didn't follow, so he's having a heavy debate internally, because what you want to have is a green level play field and not just a green field.